sounds so crazy, and it's not a story that I tell often. After reading all the stories on your site, I figured it didn't sound half as crazy as some. When I was about 4 or 5, my family lived in this apartment in Illinois. All of my family members have stories of their own to tell that I've grown up hearing. One story that has stuck with me was about when two of my older brothers were playing in the bedroom upstairs, and one of them went running out and down the hall while the other stayed in the room. Well, as the one brother ran down the hall, he looked back towards the bedroom and ran through the apparition of a bride and bridegroom. The brother who stayed in the bedroom saw this and screamed like crazy. The same brother who ran through the apparition was found a few times sitting at the bottom of the stairs that led to the second floor, just sobbing that he had tried to go upstairs and couldn't get up there. He had seen something that had scared the heck out of him. There are other stories, such as my oldest brother couldn't sleep in his room. Every night my mom would hear him screaming, and when she'd go to find him, he would be cowering in the closet, crying that the Gitchaji was going to get him. Of course, there were the typical sounds of breaking of dishes, kitchen chairs scraping across the floor, cabinets slamming shut, footsteps, and that stuff. My personal experience, I guess, is more boring than that, as I was very young. All I can remember is that I had an abnormal fear of the basement. Our basement was basically a hole in the kitchen floor. You had to go down wooden steps into it and go to the middle of the basement to turn the light on with a pull chain, which my mother says often went off on its own. I can remember, as a child, lying on my stomach in the kitchen and scooting my way over to the hole that was the entrance to the basement. I could never get up the nerve to look down into it. The terrific horror I would feel the closer I got is still with me today. That is the only experience I can remember ever having, and even though it's pretty minor compared to the others I've read here, it is absolutely true. I hope that I never experience any type of paranormal event, as it would probably stop my heart. I'm definitely a believer. I moved into a little house in Texas with a friend of mine. The landlord was a nice older man and was very helpful about getting us moved in. We had more stuff than the space would allow and saw that there was a locked storage area beneath the house. Basements are rare in Texas due to the bedrock, but this house had one. We asked if we could put some things in there, but were told to stay out of the basement with no explanation. A few weeks after getting settled in, we began to hear noises from beneath the house. Thinking we had a critter, e.g., a squirrel, a raccoon, what have you, we called a pest control place. They said we were remarkably clear of any pests and that we didn't have any tracks or droppings from even an insect population, which is unheard of in Texas. I mean, the guy said we didn't even have so much as an ant on the premises. Well, we thought this was due to an excellent cleaning crew or meticulous housekeeping, but it didn't explain the noises we kept hearing. On several occasions, I would wake up in the middle of the night feeling like I'd had a bad dream, but hadn't had one, and would find my roommate up as well, saying he couldn't sleep. On one occasion, I woke in a half slumber and felt like there was someone in the room standing next to the bed, and I heard my name. Thinking it was my roommate telling me I had a phone call, I answered and got out of bed. No one was there, and my roommate was not even home. I mentioned it to him, and he reported the same occurrence, but thought I was playing a joke on him. I began locking my door at night, just to feel safe, but it backfired. I was lying in bed, and again heard my name. I could hear the air conditioner running, and it blows directly onto my bed. Only, I wasn't getting the breeze. The breeze stopped as if someone was standing between the unit and my bed. Well, I was tired of being played with, so I sat up in bed, fist raised and prepared to give my roommate a punch in the arm. But when I got up, the breeze hit me and no one was there. When I went to the door thinking my roommate had dashed off, it was locked from the inside. I opened it and went into the living room, and my roommate wasn't even home. I called him at work and asked if he was expecting any friends over, to which he replied no. Unable to sleep, I called a friend and spent the night at her house. A few weeks passed without incident. Then late one night, I was awoken by someone pounding on the foot of my bed. I have a waterbed, and I could feel the ripples in the mattress and hear the slap from the impact. But when I sat up, no one was there, and again my door was locked from inside the room. Unable to sleep, secure in my own home, I opted to move out. I never did get a look in the basement, nor an explanation for why the entire premises were bug-free. Some things remain unexplained and perhaps unrelated, but I can sleep with the buzz of the houseflies. Hi folks, let me start off in saying that I'm about to get my degree in science, which has taught me to be very skeptical of things considered to be paranormal. I believe in coincidence and the idea that the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. With that caveat in place, let me begin. I grew up in a suburb of Boston, Massachusetts. My house had been built in the 50s, and no one had ever died in it or experienced severe trauma, etc. Before that, the land had been used for simple farming. This was a pretty ordinary place, perfect for little me to grow up. As a child, I had a very vivid imagination. The basement of the house terrified me. But what small child hasn't been scared of a basement or attic? What was really bizarre is that even as I grew up, my fear of the basement never abated. I got over my fear of the dark, my closet, my mother's wig. Don't ask, it was scary when I was 3. Spiders, etc. But I never ceased to fear the basement. I felt childish as a teen, but until I moved out of my parents' house, I always had this routine that I followed. If I was downstairs, I would turn on the light at the bottom of the stairs. Then I would run as fast as I could up the stairs, turn on the lamp at the top, and then flip the switch for the bottom of the stairs off. Then I turned on the hallway light. I would then turn off the light at the top of the stairs, run down the hall, etc. Essentially, I played leapfrog with the lights. Even at the age of 18, I hated being downstairs in the dark. I thought maybe I was insane. I also have an old cat, Fluffy, who used to flip out sometimes in the basement. He'd be sitting calmly, yowl, and then bolt up the stairs. I didn't think much of it. Small things have happened in my house, but I've always dismissed them as faulty wiring, or my imagination acting up. But a couple small things do stand out. Once during the early evening, the television in the basement started flipping channels by itself. The remote control had been left on the coffee table. I had thought maybe my cat had sat on the clicker. The real incident that left me baffled occurred when I was 14 or so. I've always had a difficult time getting to bed at a decent hour, And one night, around 2 a.m., after my parents had gone to bed, I heard the cabinet doors in the kitchen slamming. Naturally, I was terrified, but I chose to investigate. When I flipped the kitchen light switch, nothing seemed amiss. However, it was clear that the kitchen was and had been empty. To double check, I poked my head in my parents' bedroom, which was adjacent to mine. Both my parents were sleeping. I have no brothers or sisters. I knew I had heard the sound of the cabinet doors open and slam, yet had no idea what produced such a noise. I've had other friends feel uncomfortable in parts of my house, and I still feel ridiculous. If the experience hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't believe it. Sometimes, I still doubt myself,